Most of us were never taught how to do money God's way. We were taught to hustle, survive, stretch, and hope everything works out, but not how to build a life rooted in a kingdom principle, discipline, peace, and purpose. And let me be clear up front, I'm not teaching this from the finish line. I'm in the middle of rebuilding. I'm learning, I'm correcting old patterns, I'm unlearning really bad habits. I'm confronting beliefs that have held me back. And God is reshaping how I think about money from the inside out. The biggest shift hasn't been in my bank account, not yet at least. It's been in my beliefs. And that's the first place we all have to start. For a long time, I thought I had a money problem, but what I really had was a moment problem. Moments where I was tired, moments where I was stressed, moments where I wanted to celebrate, moments where I wanted to escape, moments where I felt pressure, and moments where I believed I deserve this. Those moments cost money. You can be wise 99% of the time, but one emotional moment can unravel all of your progress. And life is teaching me. Stewardship is not built in your strong moments. It's built in your weak ones. Now, before I make any major decision, I pause. Pause. Breathe. I ask myself what emotion I'm really feeling. And 9 times out of 10, the urgency fades. Because I'm not spending money, I'm spending emotions that affect my money. If that makes sense. Back in my theater days, I learned a truth about emotions and the art of acting. Emotions are not free. Not spiritually free, not physically free, not financially free. Every emotion has a cost. You pay for emotionally driven decisions. You pay for emotional patterns. You pay for emotional purchases. You pay for emotional reactions. And here's the part I never expected. I have always been sensitive to emotionally draining people, avoiding them and protecting my peace at all costs. But I never realized how my own emotional decisions were draining my finances. Every impulsive yes, every swipe of the credit card, every emotional trip, every life is short decision cost me my peace. It cost me options, and it cost me my financial stability. Emotions are not free, and wisdom cannot grow where emotions make the decisions. This has been a hard lesson for me. This revelation is new to me, and I believe it is going to change everything. I have spent years trying to break out of the middle class, studying how wealthy people think, not to idolize money, but to understand habits. Because your dreams don't create your life, your habits do. But for most of my life, I struggled with consistent habits. Not because I didn't want to grow, but because I believed a lie. Freedom means doing whatever I feel like. Then I heard something that shook me. Wisdom is not made inside of free choice, meaning you don't grow by doing whatever you want. You grow by disciplining your choices. Sounds like common sense, right? I had told myself since childhood that real freedom meant waking up whenever I wanted, spending however I wanted, and choosing whatever felt good in the moment. But that mindset kept me broke. Emotion-led, reaction-led, impulse-led. I made plenty of smart financial decisions, but then sabotaged them with one emotional choice. Booking trips with no savings. Putting big experiences on credit. Convincing myself life is short. Trying to manufacture memories my finances weren't ready for. For my 40th birthday 3 years ago, I tried to create a magical moment. But emotionally and financially, it cost me my peace. But this year, at 43, I stayed home, I ate nachos, I laughed with friends, and it was perfect. Simple, joyful, peaceful, sustainable. I realized freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is the ability to do what's wise. And wisdom is the fruit of discipline. And without wisdom, you can't grow your finances. It's all tied in together because every principle is a microcosm of all the other principles. This shift is transforming everything. For years, I waited for the big moment that would change everything. One big opportunity, one big business client, one big miracle, one breakthrough, a lottery ticket. But financial transformation doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from 1,000 small, faithful ones called habits. You don't get free overnight. You get free one decision at a time. Small choices with compounding power. Seeds into growth, into harvest, into overflow. This is kingdom economy. It's slow, it's steady, it's faithful, it's consistent. It doesn't happen overnight. And for those of you like me whose childhood somehow led you into living this fantasy in adulthood that money grows on trees, let's work together to step into reality before it's too late. Here is something I learned about myself. I never feared upgrading my lifestyle. What I feared was not growing. I feared stagnation. I feared staying the same. I feared never reaching the next level. I feared not becoming who I knew God created me to be. So instead of growing through discipline, I stretched myself into growth. I stretched my lifestyle. I stretched my spending. I stretched my decisions. Not to show off, but to outrun my fear of being stuck. Psychologists call this lifestyle inflation, when spending rises to match your income. And deeper than that, there's hedonic adaptation, where buying one thing leads to wanting another and another. And before you know it, a luxury becomes a baseline. For me, it wasn't greed, it was fear. Fear of being the same person next year. Fear of not growing fast enough. Fear that if I didn't stretch, I'd never reach my potential. But God began teaching me a higher truth. You don't grow by stretching past your means, you grow by stewarding within your means. And He spoke to me so clearly. Your lifestyle can grow, but it must always grow beneath your means. I will grow your means after you faithfully steward the means you already have. Go figure. God wasn't restricting me. He is not restricting me. He is protecting me. Delay equals protection for something you're not ready for yet. Because growth without stewardship is self-sabotage. Expansion without discipline leads to collapse. Like the story of the new wine and the old wineskins, those wineskins will burst. Overflow without order becomes waste. And here's where God revealed something deeper. When we stretch ourselves beyond what we can maturely manage, God doesn't abandon us. His word says He will never forsake us. He places us into what I call a manna season. Just like the Israelites in the wilderness, God provided exactly enough for each day. Not more, not less. And if they tried to gather extra, what happened? It spoiled. Manna seasons aren't punishments in as much as they are alignment. A manna season says this: you have stretched yourself too far trying to force growth. Now I'm slowing everything down so you can learn the principles that will sustain the blessing you are praying for. New wineskins. In manna seasons, God reduces the margin. not out of anger, but to rebuild our stewardship. To teach consistency, order, discipline, emotional regulation, wisdom, maturity, patience, obedience. Only after those lessons are learned does the promised land open. And now I understand my lifestyle can upgrade, but it must upgrade slower than my character. My lifestyle won't exceed my character or my knowledge. It must upgrade slower than my discipline, because my lifestyle can't upgrade any further past the discipline I've gained, and slower than my stewardship, because I can't move past the level of stewardship that I've taken on. God grows what we manage. He reduces what we mismanage, not to punish, but to protect our destiny. This revelation for me is changing everything. I'm not speaking to you from the mountaintop. I'm speaking to you from the valley of learning what I need to change. I learned something big this year. Most of the money I wasted wasn't on things. It was on emotions. And the emotion of missing out on a family reunion or a graduation, etc. It might seem harsh to some of you whose sister, brother, father, or friend didn't make it to your graduation, wedding, whatever. But maybe they couldn't afford to be there, and they keep making decisions that lead them into poverty. Comfort, validation, relief, confidence, escape, excitement, connection. But feelings fade, debt doesn't. So now, before I buy anything, I ask, what emotion am I trying to fix? And I fix that. This journey has been emotional, practical, psychological, but the deepest shift has been spiritual. Spiritual because it's about beliefs. I am working on changing what I believe. I am working on changing the belief. This journey has been emotional, practical, psychological, but the deepest shift has been spiritual. Spiritual because it's about belief. I learned years ago that belief shapes our reality. But the hard part for me was digging deep into my psyche to figure out what my hidden beliefs were. And now, saying them out loud, they sound completely contradictory to my goals and really silly. But they were real, and I'm still working through them. The belief that true freedom meant I could get up when I wanted to in the mornings. The belief that I could spend money that I did not have because it was on a credit card and I'll pay it back later. Some of these beliefs have been structured by a system to keep the people who don't have the knowledge in a perpetual financial stronghold. Yes, we have free choice, but if we function inside of free choice, do whatever I want to, then we're actually functioning outside of God's kingdom, which says his thoughts and ways are higher than ours, and we should function according to his principles. That's also where we are free. Freedom is inside of God's structure. Kingdom truth number 1. God is the source. My job is not my provider. My income is not my safety. God is the source. Everything else is a resource. This truth is starting to change my understanding around money and finances. Kingdom truth number 2. The kingdom runs on laws. Stewardship, generosity, order, discipline, obedience, faith, which is actually an action word, by the way. These laws work every time because they belong to God. They were created by God for us to be functional in this universe he created for us. Kingdom truth number 3, expect overflow. I have always expected overflow. That was never my issue. My issue was this. I believed for overflow while spending the seeds that were supposed to multiply. I spoke abundance, but practiced depletion. I prayed for harvest, but planted inconsistency. I declared blessing, but disrupted the process. Belief without stewardship is contradiction. Contradictions cannot grow. Now my actions align with my expectations, and the shift is beginning to happen. The journey I'm on. I am not teaching this from perfection. I am teaching it from transformation. I'm learning to protect my weak moments. I am learning to steward my emotions. I am learning to honor small decisions. I am learning to resist lifestyle stretching. I am learning to face my numbers. I am learning to walk in truth, not fantasy. I am learning to align belief with discipline. I am learning to expect overflow, responsibility. I am learning to grow from the inside out. I'm not finished, but I'm becoming. And I want you to see the journey, not just the destination. If you can relate to this conversation, if you're somewhere between where you've been and where God is calling you, hit that subscribe button. Talk to me in the comments. I actually read them, and I want to hear your story. I'm Delyce, and I'm here to learn, to grow, and to share everything I'm discovering about how to do life better. Chase your butterflies.